Welcome to Stoic Wisdom, the place where ancient ideas and contemporary studies collide. This channel is a refuge for growth, resilience, and clarity in a chaotic and uncertain world. In order to ensure that you never miss an illuminating moment, remember to join our community by clicking the subscribe button and turning on notifications before we plunge into today's wisdom. If you find meaning in what we provide, you can help spread the wisdom by doing something as simple as clicking the like button and forwarding it to a friend. Get your thoughts ready for this journey. Together, let's develop resilience, rise to adversity, and discover ancient knowledge. One ageless philosophical thought, Stoicism, holds that a philosopher is a wise and moral person who coexists peacefully with nature. This person concentrates just on not fulfilling his moral obligations. He is not influenced by typical worries like suffering, death, or scarcity. His main objective in pursuing a fully human existence is to not disappoint himself. Important member of this school of thinking, Marcus Aurelius, rose to fame with his meditations. He is considered not only as a brilliant philosopher, but also as one of the most well-known historical figures of moral and intellectual brilliance. It's remarkable how insightful his old thoughts are for facing problems of the present. The Pax Romana, a time of stability and peace in the Roman Empire, came to an end during Marcus Aurelius's rule, 161-180 AD. Unmatched in power, he was regarded by the Romans as the greatest ruler of the known world. He might have participated in the typical excesses of the materialistic and hedonistic pleasures of the emperors of his day from this position. Marcus Aurelius, though, made another decision. Marcus Aurelius was free from any financial, legal, cultural, or ethical restraints. Hence, he had unrestricted access to all kinds of luxury and enjoyment. Nevertheless, he always opted for virtue above enjoyment, despite the abundance of alternatives. His life embodies the core of Stoicism, a relentless search of virtue in the face of the most seductive conditions. For him, living morally was a daily commitment over his 19-year rule, rather than a passing choice. What distinguishes his biography is this unwavering commitment to goodness. The capacity to withstand innumerable temptations and choose virtue for its own sake rather than for acclaim, notoriety, or admiration is what distinguishes a person as great. Think about spending over 20 years in that role, battling the want for unbridled power. Choosing virtue consistently in such a situation is a tremendous task. Fundamentally speaking, Marcus Aurelius represents moral rectitude and character. His activities done in front of the public eye are not what make him most notable. Rather, it is his times of thought and introspection. His Meditations notebook is an insight into the spirit of this remarkable man. About 150 pages long, his diary is a patchwork of ideas and reflections without a formal organization, and is broken up into 12 parts. Fascinatingly, the initial works were anonymous and never meant to be shared with the public. The term Meditations was added afterward. Rather, Marcus Aurelius used them as a private time to examine his fears and life views. Written with the rarest honesty and depth, Meditations provide access to Marcus Aurelius's personality. Though casual, the piece is regarded as one of the most influential and reflective ever created. To fully understand Meditations, one should read them aloud. All across the world, libraries and booksellers carry the work. Still, some of its fundamental ideas should be emphasized for the sake of this conversation. The need of coexisting peacefully with nature was stressed by Marcus Aurelius. Nature here includes the innate order of the cosmos, as well as the natural surroundings. He draws comparisons to a tree, which develops and becomes lovely on its own, achieving its intended function, or to a caterpillar that, by pursuing its own path, becomes a butterfly. Marcus Aurelius saw personal growth and fulfillment as organic processes, unforced and unaffected by outside approval, as these comparisons show. Renowned Stoic Marcus Aurelius had a distinct viewpoint on human responsibility and purpose. Building up money or pursuing approval and credit were not admirable objectives in his opinion. Rather, he raised to the highest level of human obligation the need to be the most moral and compassionate person. Reaching the full capacity of one's own virtue and goodness was where Marcus Aurelius found true fulfillment, not worldly accomplishments or the praise of others. Reaching this highest potential was, to Marcus Aurelius, the greatest of all achievements and a real victory of the human soul. On the other hand, the worst of failures was considered to be not pursuing and realizing this promise. He thought that every one of us has a special and important job to play, and that living up to this role in accordance with the values of virtue and goodness is what gives life purpose and depth. Marcus Aurelius's point of view emphasizes the need of morality, self-improvement, and authenticity as the cornerstones of a really happy and meaningful life, and displays a profound knowledge of human nature and the purpose of life. Marcus Aurelius's philosophy is in perfect harmony with the fundamental ideas of Stoicism, a school of thought that places a high premium on morality and personal growth over any kind of monetary or external achievement. The unrelenting quest of virtue and the fulfillment of one's natural potential are regarded by Stoics, and Marcus Aurelius in particular, as the genuine route to a fulfilling and meaningful existence, rather than merely as lofty goals. This Stoic perspective holds that a person's inherent value is determined by their character and their capacity to live in harmony with nature, as well as ethical and moral values, rather than by their material belongings, social standing, or awards won. Marcus Aurelius showed by his thoughts and deeds that real greatness is the capacity of a person to develop virtue and fully realize their potential, independent of outside conditions. Therefore, the emphasis on monetary success and outward accomplishments of today is refreshingly countered by Stoic philosophy, especially that of Marcus Aurelius, which emphasizes the need of internal qualities like kindness, integrity, and authenticity as cornerstones of a genuinely rich and fulfilled life. Marcus Aurelius's meditations are centered on a potent lesson on human reaction control and resilience. He underlines that although we cannot control other people's actions and outside events, we have total control over how we respond to them. Marcus Aurelius maintained that the capacity of a person to overcome obstacles in life and to work non-stop to realize their greatest potential for virtue reveals their actual greatness. He thought that this tenacity and self-determination are not just great traits, but also a basic human need. Marcus Aurelius knew the enormous duties and many difficulties that came with being emperor. He saw that seeing morally depraved people was an inevitable part of life. His comparison of these exchanges to a thorny vine is very instructive, since it emphasizes how these challenges are a part of the world we live in. Marcus Aurelius thought that ignorance, not real intrinsic evil, drove most destructive human deeds. Though it is possible to teach and have a good impact on others, it is not always feasible or successful, he understood. The viewpoint of Marcus Aurelius helps us to acknowledge that human imperfection is a fact, and that not all problems or disputes can be settled. He exhorts us to concentrate on what is under our control, on our own response to hardship and personal development in the face of relationships with others. This method not only facilitates our better navigating of life's difficulties, but also directs us down a route of wisdom, patience, and virtue. Marcus Aurelius offered in his Stoic wisdom a reflective and modest approach to circumstances in which it is impossible to affect or change the behavior of others, particularly those who exhibit immoral or indolent attitudes. He counseled introspection, acknowledging his own flaws and realizing that he was not qualified to pass judgment on other people. This realization raised the possibility that, on another day, in a different situation, he might be the one in need of information or understanding. Marcus Aurelius placed great importance on self-analysis and humility. He recognized that sometimes our perception of circumstances and others is incomplete or inaccurate. Marcus Aurelius proposed through this insight that looks can be misleading, and that what appears bad from one angle may not be so obvious from another. A typical illustration is a burglar who steals to support his family. This deed questions the easy distinction between good and evil. Marcus Aurelius's method stresses the need of realizing our common human flaws in the intricacy of moral judgments, so promoting a greater understanding and empathy for others. He reminds us that every one of us is flawed, and that situations we are not completely aware of frequently affect the decisions people make. Recognizing the depth and complexity of the human experience, This viewpoint asks us to be more patient, understanding, and less prone to making fast decisions. Given his deep insight of human nature, Marcus Aurelius acknowledged that hardship is a necessary and intrinsic part of the human experience. He recommended a strategy of preparedness and acceptance of these obstacles as an inherent part of life rather than wishing for a life without problems. From his vantage point, hardships ought to be viewed as priceless chances for moral development and personal development, rather than as tragedies or defeats. If you found this content engaging and enriching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more fascinating explorations. Marcus Aurelius used adversity as a means of honing basic skills like tolerance, fortitude, and understanding. He considered these characteristics as essential elements of a moral existence, not alone as admirable traits. Through such confrontation of adversity, we turn obstacles into instruments for our own development. Marcus Aurelius also held that obstacles were necessary for character development and reinforcement, in addition to being unavoidable. Every challenge to him was a teaching moment, a chance to strengthen the spirit and improve capacity to manage the complexity and unpredictable nature of life. With this strategy, obstacles become perceived differently. These become necessary steps for personal development and progress, rather than impassable obstacles. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom encourages us to view every adversity as an opportunity to grow in our strength, resiliency, and virtue, and to welcome challenges as essential components of our journey. This viewpoint not only allows us to better handle life's challenges, but also enables us to derive significance and lessons from every encounter. Marcus Aurelius emphasizes in Meditations the value of existing in the present. He counseled avoiding undue anxiety about the past or the future, and instead concentrating on the present. Recognizing that many parts of life are beyond our control, this method seeks to develop acceptance and calm. Marcus Aurelius's philosophy is a search for knowledge and a profound comprehension of both the outside world and human nature. His focus on empathy, self-awareness, and accepting life as it is provides ageless truths that are still applicable in contemporary culture. His legacy, encapsulated in Meditations, is a handbook for leading a life of integrity and purpose as much as for power and leadership. Marcus Aurelius often thought on death. His opinions on death were simple: it is unavoidable and beyond of our control. He told himself time and time again not to be afraid of dying or to worry about it. Nature demands that we must eventually face mortality, much as it demands that we be decent, help others, and realize our potential. In Aurelius's philosophy, dying is accepted as a normal aspect of life. We liberate ourselves to concentrate on leading moral lives, harmonizing with nature, and realizing our greatest potential when we do not fear dying. This cynical view on death is a reflection of a larger realization of the fleeting nature of life and the value of making the most of our time here. To Marcus Aurelius, dying was an essential part of our natural responsibilities in the cosmos. Based in Stoicism, his thought promoted living a life of goodness, justice, and harmony with the plan of nature, accepting death as a necessary and inevitable part of that path. Stoicism is a philosophical school that includes logic, ethics, and physics, and was advanced by Aurelius and other thinkers such as Seneca and Epictetus. Still, a fundamental tenet of Stoicism is the difference between happiness and pleasure, a transient feeling brought on by outside factors like achievement, fame, or money, is what Stoicism defines as pleasure. Conversely, happiness is considered as a more permanent and internal state of being. For Stoics, being an emperor, as Marcus Aurelius was, does not bring true satisfaction. Neither do outside accomplishments or wealth. Rather, it is the consequence of leading a moral life, always aiming for personal development and reaching one's greatest potential. Because greatness is considered innate to human nature, Stoicism teaches that the only true failure, grief, or sorrow, the only thing really worthy of fear, is not living up to one's potential. By pursuing virtue and realizing inherent potential, This ideology promotes an internal emphasis where the source of genuine satisfaction and fulfillment is found inside oneself. By his works, Aurelius best illustrates this Stoic idea by demonstrating a life devoted to duty, morality, and the search of inner happiness in spite of outside conditions. I appreciate you coming along on my trip through wisdom and history. If you enjoyed and learned from this material, please remember to subscribe, like, and share Stoic wisdom for more intriguing investigations. I am driven to share knowledge by your support. Comment with any ideas, queries, or simply to say hello. Stay curious.